If you asked enthusiasts what they consider to be the last best analog BMW, chances are it's the E9X 3 Series. We're taking a look at this 2009 BMW 335i Convertible. This is an E93, the convertible of the E90. We're not going to talk about the sedan, wagon, or coupe. I want to focus just on the convertible, as that's what we have here. Now, when it comes to this convertible, it was the first BMW to use a retractable hardtop. We saw that a little while ago when we featured the 2020 BMW M4 competition, and it uses a retractable hardtop on this. You can open it from the key fob. You stick the key in the door, and it will open it up. You have comfort access as an option, like this one has. You can also roll down the windows from the key fob, and you can also open up the roof from it too. That's great if it's a nice sunny day like it is here today. We're going to be taking full advantage of this convertible top. What's the point of driving around with the roof up when it's such a nice day out? The easiest way to tell that you've got yourself a facelift aside from the model year are the taillights on the bottom. These were completely red for the 2011 model. On this one, you've got a white strip at the bottom. But honestly, like I said, this is one of the best BMWs ever made, and a lot of people consider this to be the best 3 Series before they went to the F30, which became very digitized. That's why I say it's an analog BMW, because a lot of it isn't overly technical. It's still what a BMW should be. A sports sedan, in this case a convertible, that performs well, has decent enough reliability, which we'll talk about at the end, and really the looks that will stand the test of time. Under the hood, we have BMW's N54 B30 inline-6 engine. Produces 302 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. This has the 6-speed automatic Steptronic transmission. You could have gotten a 6-speed manual with it. Doesn't matter what you're driving, you shouldn't shame somebody just because of the transmission, but we are going to be talking about that when we're on our road test. How can you tell it's an N54? It's just the way that it looks. This is the easiest way. The way that BMW set up the engine covers is unique between this and the N55, because BMW didn't want to make it easy for anybody. Even though the LCI came in 2011, they actually switched over the new engine in 2010 to the N55. It was a single turbo, and it had the same power numbers, but some people say it might be a little bit more reliable to go with the N55. And again, we'll talk about that reliability and common problems at the end. Now, this is the 335i. They did have a 335is in 2011. It's a pretty limited production run. Had an extra 20 horsepower and 64 pound-feet of torque. Really nice car there. That's probably the one to go with if you're in the market to keep it long-term and you want something that is special. But if you're looking for a daily driver that's well balanced when it comes to overall maintenance cost, the performance you get out of it, and the price that you can get it for today, this is the one to go for. Because new, this car was just over $60,000 Canadian. Today, thanks to Excellence Auto in Actonville, they're giving us the opportunity to feature this 2009 for our show here. You can buy this specific one for $14,300. And you can get an 07 335i for about $10,000 Canadian. And if you go all the way up to the 2013, the final generation for the convertible, you'd be looking at about $34,000 to $35,000 for it. So pricing ranges quite a bit depending on which features and options you want. Now, I am lucky because we have a very well optioned vehicle here. There were a number of packages you could have gotten from the factory. This does have the M Sport wheels, M Sport steering wheel, the M Sport scuff plates, as well as the Steptronic transmission. We also have heated seats, dual zone climate control, iDrive with navigation, rear park distance control, and the cold weather package. So about as optioned as you can get. So ours is pretty well equipped here, and I'd say it's in the popular color choice. A lot of people like to get these in white with the black interior, which this one has. But enough about the exterior, let's take this car on a road test, because that's the whole point of buying a BMW 335i, is you want to be able to drive it. So let's get behind the wheel, talk about everything else you need to know on the road about this vehicle, and then we'll wrap up with all the common problems and things to look out for if you're in the market for an E93 BMW 3 Series. I know there's already a bunch of haters out there complaining that this is an automatic. Oh no, it's an automatic. What are we gonna do? To that I say, who cares? You want to buy the manual, go get the manual. This is an automatic. It's got the Steptronic, and we got flappy paddles. Now the flappy paddles are interesting. It's the first time that I've experienced this generation of BMW flappy paddle. They're very, very different. There's two, one on either side of the steering wheel, but to sort of alleviate the issue that I always have, where if you're turning, the upshift is on the opposite side of the steering wheel now, they've decided to put both up and downshift on the same pedal. So you actually have your thumbs on the paddles and your fingers behind it, so that when you shift up, you click either one of them in, and you're gripping the steering wheel to shift up, and then to shift down, you actually push away with your thumb on it. Very different. If you weren't aware of that, you just jumped behind the wheel of this and went for a drive, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. Oh yeah. And it sort of eliminates that issue that we have where when you turn the wheel, you lose where your paddles are. So it's a nice thing to have. You can still shift with the Steptronic transmission on the gear lever. I kind of like the paddles though. Now, what else can I tell you about the 335i? This is the sweet spot when it comes to driving a performance-oriented car. It's not going to get you into too much trouble. 302 horsepower, it's not bad. And the reliability is all right. You got to do the maintenance on it. We're going to go over it after this segment. We're going to tell you what you need to look for if you're in the market for one of these. It's not going to bankrupt you, but you do have to be prepared for it. See, the thing about this engine is you hear the sound of the turbos. It's so good. It sounds really, really nice. The exhaust ain't bad either. It's not overpowering. There's not a ton of drama. But again, it's that sweet spot of having something that you can live with on a daily basis, enjoy it, have fun, and not necessarily break the bank, especially when it comes to the fuel economy. Now, we're not going to be doing any testing with that. At 193,000 kilometers, it's going to be impossible to give you an accurate number of what you would get, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. Oh yeah, the suspension is firm. That's what you would expect from this type of vehicle, so you're not looking at a total comfort experience here. There are no controls to be able to change the actual driving experience. You're pretty much in either sport mode for the transmission or manual shift mode, so it's pretty basic. And that's why I say this really is more of an analog BMW, the last great analog BMW, because you don't have to worry about all the electronics. You've basically got traction control. That's all you have to worry about if you want to have a little bit of fun. Now, the other thing that you should keep in mind, this is a rear-wheel drive only vehicle. It doesn't have xDrive. Some people say to avoid xDrive unless you live in a climate like ours up in Quebec, where you absolutely need to have it year-round. It does add to the cost of repairs for this vehicle. If something goes wrong with xDrive, you got to fix it. So this is a little simpler, especially if you're planning on doing the maintenance and work yourself. You shouldn't have too much issue with it. So rear-wheel drive, straight six up front. It's a twin turbo, which is newer for BMW, but you still get that BMW driving experience. I mean, getting behind the wheel of this, it feels very similar to the M4 competition that we drove. And it's a cabriolet as well, just like that, even though the M4 is 11 years newer. Can you believe that? 11 years? This is a 2009. It doesn't feel like that long ago that this car was new, that I saw this in the showroom. But it still feels just like a new BMW. That's the way these cars are meant to drive, ride, and perform. That's why you're going to be buying this. That's why you can go out and you can buy not a whole lot for $14,000 new. But if you're buying this for 14 grand and you're spending maybe, you know, a few $1,000s a year in maintenance, you're going to have a lot more fun than, say, a base model Honda Civic. The thing is, this is so fun even if you don't drive it in manual mode, even if you just put it into normal mode, it's still an enjoyable experience. You're not going to turn heads necessarily. You know, it's not like the new M340i. It's got some grunt to that exhaust. This is really a reserved vehicle with the ability to go quick if you want to. And I mean, the handling on this is just superb. I've been driving around a little bit as I get familiar with the car, filming all the segments for this. And I have to say, like, it's just so nice. If you didn't tell me that this car had 193,000 kilometers on it, I wouldn't believe it. I would have thought it was a whole lot less. It really feels like a newer car. It's incredible. It's just effortless power. Now I'm telling you again that this will be a future classic in the 335IS as well. These are going to be the cars that people will want to buy. Everybody will still want an M3, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for something that you can live with on a daily basis, have some room to modify and tune up and whatever you want to do to get a little bit more power out of it, then this will be the one to go with. We're not quite at the bottom of the depreciation curve yet. I mean, currently it costs 25% of what it cost brand new, which is incredible after 11 years. So I'd say another 4 or 5 years, this will probably hit the bottom of that curve before people realize, wow, you know, these new BMWs have so much technology, they're so digital that you really lose that driving experience. I want something that's a little bit more analog. These will start to go up in popularity. So if you want to buy something like this, if you want to hold on to it for a long time, not only will this specific engine be the one to go with, but the E90 generation of 3 Series, it will go down as the best of the last generation of truly analog BMWs. God, that turbo, so good. Oh man, you hear the turbo more with the roof down, but you hear it more than the exhaust. The exhaust is quite muted. There's no problem with that. It's still really fun. Well, if you're looking for a BMW, chances are you're not looking for something reliable, and there are some things to look out for. Aside from what we always talk about when it comes to buying any used car, you should do your due diligence, have it inspected by a trusted mechanic, have everything looked over to make sure you're not going to be running into a huge list of repairs down the road. Get the service history if you can, because these are still complicated machines. Despite today, a 2020 BMW being significantly more complex than this, there's still a lot to go on with it. So make sure you have it looked out, and also make sure you get the car that you absolutely want, because there's a lot of choice out there. It's not like they made a billion of these. There are a number of 335i convertibles for sale in Canada as of filming this, so you definitely can get the one that you really want. Now, there are some common problems to the E9X 3 Series in general. The electronic water pump and thermostat will go out around 100,000 kilometers. The starter goes out around 130,000 kilometers. The belt tensioner can get loose, so you need to address that. If it does have problems, if it explodes while you're driving along, that could become a very costly repair. The oil filter housing gasket goes at about 130,000 kilometers, and to be fair, that's pretty common with BMWs across the board. The oil pan gasket can go between 130 and 220,000 kilometers. So again, around that 130,000 kilometer mark, you should be going in for full service, and then again about 200,000 kilometers. Now with the N54 specifically, the intake will build up with carbon. That goes between 50 and 70,000 kilometers. So you're going to need to do that at at least 4 times by the time you're buying this car. So keep that in mind. That is one of the most common problems after the wastegate rattle. The turbo needs to be replaced to fully solve that issue. And again, that can happen kind of anywhere. If you look at any BMW enthusiast forum or group, you'll find that there is a lot of rattling issues when it comes to the wastegate for the N54. It kind of comes with buying this car. So you can replace the turbo. That'll cost you some money. There are some stopgap measures that you can do to alleviate the problem, but you will have to replace the turbo to fully solve the problem. So again, depending on where you go, that could cost almost $10,000 if you're taking it to the dealership. If you do it yourself, it will be less money. Also, the coil packs and fuel injectors do go bad over time. So again, regular maintenance like that will help keep this vehicle on the road. My suggestion, if you're in the market for this car, take a look at E90post.com. The Bimmer Post forums have a ton of information across all generations of BMW and Mini and even Rolls-Royce products. So if you're looking for help, you want to have some DIYs, be able to do some stuff yourself, that's the place to go. And the E90 specific forum will obviously have the best information when it comes to the E93 convertible. I want to give a big thanks again to Excellence Auto Acton here in Actonville, Quebec for letting us feature their 2009 BMW 335i Convertible. I saw this car a little while ago and I knew I needed to do it because it is such a popular car. It's right at that sweet spot right now of being affordable enough without being too costly when it comes to repairs that people are going to be really interested in buying these cars now. So big thanks to them. You can find out more about this specific car. If you're looking to buy it, you can find out on their website in the description below, and also to see what other vehicles they have. If you have any questions about this episode or anything else in general, please leave a comment below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked this video, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content like this. We are doing a mix of older stuff like this 2009 BMW, as well as new stuff like the 2020 vehicles that we feature on a regular basis. Until next time, thanks for watching and take care.